Welcome to the She Rises Collective podcast, a permission slip, a portal, and a hug all in one. A sacred space where stories soften us, truth unearths us, and sisterhood waters what's been waiting to grow. I'm Sonia Welch, wife and mama to a whole bunch of kids, certified trauma-informed life and transformation coach, entrepreneur, storyteller, heart and soul-driven woman walking life right alongside you. This is where we talk about the real stuff. Motherhood, relationships, money, career, business, healing and reinvention, sisterhood, the day-to-day, becoming the woman you know you're meant to be, and everything in between. Nothing is off limits here. We alchemize struggle into strength, pain into purpose, and we rise together. Raw, honest, wildly empowered. As the artist of our lives, let's take the raw materials of life and make freaking art, because you can be a masterpiece and a work of art at the same time. And if there's one thing I want you to know, it's this. No matter your past or your present, your future can be wildly beautiful, and you deserve a life that makes your soul scream, yes, more, please. If you're here, it's not by accident, you were led. And this space was created for you because this isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. A sacred soul-led space to come together, connect and laugh in a space that is real and raw, encompassing the complexities and dynamics of life, hand in hand, growing and rising together. This is the She Rises Collective podcast. Welcome home. Let's talk about the secret to real growth, because true growth can only happen when you're willing to be a living contradiction. I am able to be successful and happy in my life because I'm willing to be a walking contradiction of my past self. Let me explain. Let's go there. By letting myself be open-minded, by letting myself experiment, by letting myself pivot directions, I am allowing myself to grow. By letting myself be wrong, I am able to grow and I am able to evolve. I love letting myself be wrong because every time there's massive growth and up level on the other side. I can stand strongly for something and later learn differently. That is human growth. That is humanity. That's human evolution. And oftentimes we first experience what isn't our truth, what isn't for us, what isn't our path, what we don't want, what we won't stand for, what we won't tolerate, what career or business or strategy or type of person we want in a relationship, whatever it is. We first experience what isn't our thing to find what is. And that doesn't mean that the previous self, the previous season, didn't serve a purpose. So I never look at it as time wasted because there is so much power in not being afraid of being wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. I'm okay with changing views or paths. We are cyclical with nature. Nature has seasons and so do we. I welcome growth into my life, even if it feels uncomfortable. And to be honest, growth feels natural to me. For me, staying the same is what feels innately bizarre. You are allowed to change your mind. And thank God, because could you imagine never learning or growing and staying exactly the same your entire life? As I allow myself to grow and change, I feel more and more like myself. Being a walking contradiction is a superpower. Deciding that you stand for something different than before, allowing yourself to change your mind, to pivot, to course correct, to try something new, to see things differently than what you once did, having an open mind naturally leads to an expansive life, a life that feels alive and true. Growth, experience, education, learning. In doing those things, we become a walking contradiction of our past selves. And that's okay because we know better. because we learned better, because we allowed ourselves to think in a new way, to explore something different, even if it contradicts our past self. Because putting myself into a box that I won't allow myself to outgrow is contracting, it's constrictive. And the more that I allow myself to grow and change and be contradictory to my past self, I cultivate the capacity to be all that I truly am and to own it unapologetically. And by allowing ourselves to go outside of the lines, to scribble a little bit, to step outside of the box, to not put ourselves in a box, to not be confined, to not be constrained, to not stay the same, to change our mind, to grow, to experience something new and different, we allow ourselves freedom and liberation to become all that we were born to be. Because that's what this life experience is. A journey, an exploration, your journey. And guess what? You can't go wrong on your own journey. You can't not live your own life. It's your life. It may have some turns you didn't expect. You may go a direction that feels like it took you off course for a minute. You might have to find a new route. But it's your life. It's your experience. It's your art that you get to be the artist of. And there is so much wisdom to be gained when we take down the walls of the box and let ourselves live and experience and fly and soar and try and experiment. I talk all the time about how we often find what is for us, whether that's relationship, career, business, spiritual path, religion, a partner, friends, whatever it is. We often find it by first experiencing what isn't for us. Can we really know what's not for us if we don't experience what isn't? Maybe in some things, but not in everything. And this brings me to something important that I talk about a lot, especially with my older kids. And that is looking at the things we've experienced in the paths that we've tried, the things we've done in our lives as part of the journey versus time wasted. Because that reframe is empowering. And it's part of the path that gets us closer to what is for us. And different things can make sense in different seasons. What once fit in a past season may not be forever, and that's okay. I consider myself on the path of sacred experimentation, and that is liberating. That is expansive. That feels like home. Because this entire human experience is sacred. And we each have our own unique sacred experience as a human, as a soul living a human experience. And we get to experiment. We get to experience what isn't for us. We get to have different seasons. We get to have different paths. But if we don't allow ourselves to step outside of the box, or better yet, if we don't put ourselves in a box and we remain open-minded to trying new things, to thinking a new way, to being able to say, oh, I once thought this way, or once did something this way, but I'm seeing now that there's another way. There's a better way for me in this season. And I'm not talking about being back and forth, wishy-washy, inconsistent, and self-sabotaging to never make progress. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about learning and growing. Innate human evolution. There are times in our life where we know it's time to change. That's what this human experience is. But if we don't allow ourselves to change, we are not living out the fullness of our lives, of this experience, and of our fullest potential. And if you're worried about how you'll look to others, if you change your mind or change your stance, live differently, or do something that doesn't make sense to anyone else, then you are giving your power away. You are outsourcing your internal authority, and you are living for them, not you. You're letting your perception of how others will perceive or judge you hold you back from the fullness of your own life, from your potential, from your growth and evolution, from the life that you are meant to live. And sometimes it can feel scary to let go of something, to let go of a season, a job, a partner, a home, a place that you live, a friendship, a way of living, a belief system, whatever it is. And that's human, and that is okay. We don't have to fight that, but we don't have to let it keep us constrained in a box, keep us from growth. We can choose. We can make the conscious decision to get out of our own way, to reframe, to surrender to the fact that there's seasons and there's evolution available when we're willing to get out of our own way and lean into things changing and trying something new. Even when change feels scary, that doesn't mean it's bad. And it can feel sad to close the door and to choose a new way. And we can honor that. And we can experience both gratitude for the season and excitement for the next. We can choose a new way. And sometimes we worry, what if it doesn't work? So what? That's okay. Now you know that it doesn't work, and you're that much closer to what is in alignment. And there are so many lessons and so much wisdom in everything that we experience, even if it feels like a mistake. And can we just reframe? Reframe it as not a mistake, but something you tried, something you had the courage and the heart to experiment with. And if it doesn't work, if it's not your path, if it's not your way, you pivot. You take the lesson, the wisdom, the experience, the knowledge, and you carry it forward into your very own future. Wiser, stronger, more experienced, closer. Think about our elders. We look up to them, sages with so much wisdom, because they have lived, they have experienced, they have made mistakes. Part of mastery in life, mastery of this human experience, is the humility to say, hey, I once did something this way or thought this was for me, and now I've learned and have the humility to change. And that leads to radical transformation. We have to give ourselves the space to grow. There is no space inside of a box where you're confined and restrained. Self-leadership is saying, I've learned a different way. It's willing to be able to lead yourself differently. Self-leadership is taking radical responsibility for your life, because the way a woman leads herself determines the life she builds. So are you leading yourself from fear that restrains your growth and evolution? Or are you leading yourself with an open mind, being open to learn, explore, change, grow, evolve, and maybe make some mistakes? Are you leading yourself from fear, or are you choosing to lead yourself from desire? As humans, we are wired with an innate desire to learn, to grow, to evolve, to create. But what happens very early on, even in infancy, and the way we were tended to by our caregivers, it impacts us at a biological level. It shapes how we show up in life, how we navigate life, who we are in relationships, business, and the relationship that we have with ourselves. It used to be the theory of let your child cry it out. And now we know that that isn't best. We have an internal wiring at a mind, body, heart, soul, spirit, biological, chemical, physiological, energetic level, because we are an entire ecosystem. And this wiring sometimes holds us back. Not because it's bad or something's wrong with us, but because we're human and we have lived and we have experienced things. So often you'll feel this desire to change, this want to change, but it'll feel like there's an invisible force holding you back. And wiring is not only in our mindset, it's also in our nervous system, our emotional capacity, our emotional resilience, our emotional mastery, our emotional intelligence, a wiring of our past experiences. We are wired on so many different levels. Our inner blueprint is a mind, body, heart, and soul game. And I think that we fear standing for one thing, shouting it from the rooftops, or being so passionate about it in a season and sharing about it, or pursuing a specific path and then changing our mind. We fear that it'll make us look not trustworthy or not credible, or like we don't have our crap together, or like we're being a inconsistent, contradictory person, but it's actually just being deeply human and having the self-honor, the self-respect, the humility, and the willingness to say, oh, okay, here's what I've learned now. Here's how I've grown. Here's the direction I'm moving in now. Here's what I'm exploring. Here's what I'm trying now. Here's how I'm growing now. Here's what I've learned. Here's how I'm evolving. Here's what I'm stepping into next. And trusting yourself to change directions, to live life in its fullness, to explore, to try new things, to say, okay, that wasn't for me and that's okay. That is power. That is growth. That is evolution. That is being deeply human. That is trust. That is honoring that we are human, that life is like one big experiment. And it gives other people permission to do the same. And as long as we're not harming anybody in the process, as long as there's not intentional harm and you're not out there doing people wrong, doing people dirty, experiment, explore, live. Let your experience here on this earth be a sacred experimentation of your own life, of your own experience, to let yourself change, let yourself grow, learn, educate yourself, gather wisdom through experience. How often do we stay in the same place because we fear making the wrong decision? I have a theory that the wrong decision is often, because maybe not always, but in many circumstances, better than no decision. A wrong decision that once taken leads you closer to the right one. Because without taking a wrong decision, you're not taking any action. And you're not getting closer to the right decision, a more aligned direction, because you didn't let the wrong decision steer you in any direction. And there's a good chance that it's not a wrong decision. And wrong is subjective. If it gets you closer to where you want to go, if you learn, if you grow and carry lessons and wisdom forward, then do we really consider that wrong? Maybe it's just a step, even if it seems like it's a step in the wrong direction. If it's a step that's helping you reveal a better direction. Successful people are decisive. They decide and they act. And there's a profound level of freedom that accompanies the permission we give ourselves to change our mind, to make decisions, to make mistakes, because the ultimate outcome in it all is growth, learning, wisdom, lessons, and evolving experiences, a rich, full human experience. Or else you're stuck in a trap. We cannot create anything new if we're paralyzed in fear of change. And the cool thing is, new experiences in your life literally rewire your inner blueprint. They create new neural pathways in your mind. It is good for you. Do something new. Start small. Drive a different route. Wear a different color that you never thought you would. Try a new food. Pick up a new hobby. Go somewhere you've never been, even if it's just in your own town. Life is not a box. Life is not black and white. We are allowed to outgrow things, even if they were things that once felt like home, even if it feels scary. And I see this happening in midlife women so often, quietly outgrowing our lives. Society wants us to think it's a crisis because that is disempowering. It is not a crisis. It is a midlife awakening, a sacred homecoming where everything that no longer fits, that is misaligned, that no longer serves us begins to fall away. White knuckling through life, force, pressure, burnout. The exhaustion of living a life of everyone else's expectations, who the world and society told us to be. We're often replaced before we even have a chance to become who we really are. There comes a point when we stop and realize operating this way is no longer working, and that often happens in midlife. You look in the mirror one day and barely recognize the woman staring back. But that moment is an awakening, an invitation to come back home to yourself, who you really are underneath it all, to rewire not into someone new, but back to who you are in your truest essence. And in that journey, you awaken a power that has been there all along. It's a sacred homecoming, the long exhale your soul has been craving. For me, it was a line in the sand moment. To start honoring myself again. Because we spend years and decades doing and doing and doing roles, titles, identities, duties, responsibilities, keeping everything running in a flow, taking care of others, supporting others. But there's a moment when you start to recognize what's going on, and your body will start rejecting the way you're living. Because your body holds your truth, your experiences, your frequency, your emotions, your blueprint, your past, your wisdom, your intuition, your inner compass, your GPS, your inner GPS. It even holds wisdom from your parents and your grandparents and your ancestors and so on. It holds ancient knowledge. And we get so disconnected from ourselves in this modern day world, from running on autopilot, survival mode, burnout, force, pressure, white knuckling our way through life, through absorbing beliefs, thoughts, habits, and patterns, from living in a world where we are constantly influenced. A lot of high-functioning women are successful on the outside, but internally stuck in survival mode. And when you rewire at the identity and nervous system level, at the mind, body, heart, and soul level, you start to lead yourself differently. And from there, your whole life begins to shift. Because it might be true that you feel like you lost your power and your connection to your own self, but it's still there, longing to come out. There's still a flame flickering that refuses to go out. And we have a choice to take radical responsibility for yourself, for your life, to decide to do the inner work that brings us home. And this chapter isn't about doing more or becoming someone new. It's about coming back home to who you really are underneath it all. That's the power move that awakens your inner power again. It's a shedding and unraveling, not piling on more. And the woman who emerges, who finally feels safe to become all that she's always been in her truest essence, she's a woman who feels alive. A woman who wakes up with passion and purpose. A woman who decides she's not available for a life that doesn't feel electric in her bones. She's given herself permission to be a work of art and a masterpiece at the same time, holding the paintbrush of her very own life. She's no longer managing her life, she's creating it. She's no longer surviving her life and trying to get through the day, waking up exhausted before her feet even hit the floor, going to bed with a to-do list longer than what it was when the day started. That's not what she's doing. She's commanding her life as the conscious creator of it. She's taken the raw materials of her life and making art. She's written poetry with her life. She's alive, she's free, she's sovereign, she trusts herself. She feels at home within herself and within her life. Her life feels like home. And she's the permission slip for everyone around her. She experiences what I call the inner wealth effect, the exponential return of investing in yourself, little by little, moment by moment, and it stacks into miracles. It's the inner revolution that starts within and expands everywhere. Into her relationship with herself, with others, into her health, into her career, her business, her finances, her wealth, into the way she shows up in the world for herself and for others. And it creates a ripple effect impact into generations to come. She's at peace within herself, and life responds to her accordingly. She carries a new energy. She plays in the realm of possibilities, and life starts opening up in new ways. Because we aren't meant to live lives feel exhausting all the time. We're meant to feel alive and to co-create our lives. And we have so much more power than we realize. And becoming this woman is a process of dismantling the invisible cages that we never saw being built. The ones that slowly formed not only from circumstances, but from roles, identities, duties, responsibilities, things we absorbed since childhood. But the freedom is in taking the key and unlocking the door to the cage, and that key is within you. But it doesn't stop there. You have to open the door and fly out of that door. This is the heartbeat of my work, the heartbeat of my mission, guiding women back home to themselves, dismantling the invisible cages, healing patterns at the root. It's the restoration of our internal authority that we are no longer outsourcing. My work is the portal to a life that feels alive, expansive, and free. Because transformation isn't a hack. Transformation is an ecosystem because you are a whole woman. We do the mind, body, heart, and soul work that synergizes together to bring you back home to yourself. An ecosystem of inner leadership that makes change lasting and sustainable. So you can look in the mirror again and recognize the woman staring back. Your joy returns, your spark returns, because the truth is you don't need to escape your life. You need to come home to yourself. That's what I'm leaving you with today. And I am sending you so much love. You are beautiful, you are amazing, you are powerful, you are enough, you are worthy, and you are capable.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the She Rises Collective podcast. If this episode moved you, inspired you, reminded you of your power, or you just plain enjoyed it, please take a second to subscribe, share it with a friend, leave a review, and even share it to your social media. Your voice helps this show reach more women who are ready to rise. If you're craving deeper support, real conversations, or want to explore working together, head to SoniaWelch.com or come say hi on Instagram or Facebook to stay connected. I'd truly love to hear what's landing for you. My coaching work is about the sacred journey of rising, becoming, and expansion into the most beautiful version of you. It's the synergy of mind, heart, soul, and body work that we do in my world that creates a vortex of deep self-remembrance, unlocking your fullest potential, the kind that births lasting transformation and activates the truth of who you are. It's a recalibration of who you are at your core, a deep initiation into your power, your purpose, and your potential. Remember, you are the artist of your life. You are allowed to rewrite your story. You are worthy of more joy, more peace, and more soul-screaming yes moments than you've ever allowed yourself to believe are even possible. This is about living a life of intoxicating joy, doing what lights you up, a life that roars into the world and creates ripple effect impact, because it's not just about us. This is how we shift paradigms, take our power back, and give others permission to do the same, just by being who we truly are and letting our magic be felt and seen. Until next time, keep rising, keep becoming, and don't forget, joy is rebellion, and you are here to make it roar. You are loved and you are supported here.